Todd, Bubba Horwitz joins us now for the Trader Rundown. And Todd, we have to talk about the market reaction to the Brussels tragedy. And it was really quite muted initially.
Good morning, Angie. Yeah, you know, it's obviously very sad, and our prayers and thoughts go out to everybody that was affected. And really, we're all affected because you never know where it's going to be. But markets themselves really weren't that interested in the overall news. I mean, you saw overnight the markets only went down like 80 points in the Dow futures, and by mid-morning they were back rallying again. So overall, the money train is still rolling on, and the markets themselves are not ready to call it a day yet, because if the markets are ready to go, that would have been the news or the black swan event that could have pushed them much lower. But apparently they're not ready to go, and the sadness of the attack didn't affect the buyers. They still came back.
Let's talk about those stocks that were affected. Airlines, cruise lines. Let's start with American Airlines. So we saw this stock drop about 3% yesterday.
Yeah, and I thought American, the funniest story is I looked at American before all this happened. I thought that it needed a little bit of a pullback. We got the impetus of a little bit of a pullback through the unfortunate events, but I think somewhere in around 40, it's probably a fairly good play. When you start to see people either chase up gun stocks or push down on travel stocks because of an event, that event will soon be over, and we'll be back to regular trade, and that's what you have to look for. So I think you want to look for those as opportunities when you see a pullback, and I think 40 is a good number on American if it can get there.
So 40 is where you would actually buy this stock and
yes,
maybe see it ride higher?
Yeah, I think it looks higher. It looks like it wants to work higher. I think it got a little bit ahead of itself, up to 43 and change, and I think the pullback is good for it. A lot of times in markets, a little bit of selling is healthier for the market than the straight up move.
What about a cruise line?
I would. Yeah. I think cruise lines are, again, we tend to overreact as Americans, as investors, as traders, and you tend to oversell into something or you overbuy into an event. And those are typically opportunities. If you understand that and you understand how the market functions itself, it's usually an opportunity for you to step in and buy a company that's a good company to begin with. It's not, in other words, it's not a lousy company. If it's a good, solid company that was moving higher beforehand, all it's doing is saying, here, we're giving you an opportunity to buy. This is probably a good level to step in.
Wonderful to have you on the show. Thank you for your thoughts today.
My pleasure.